All right. We are live. We're live. We're live. I'm going to give it a minute for some folks to come on. Super excited to start this live stream on my profitable franchise formula. This is a really exciting topic, and by the end of this video, you're going to be able to know the exact formula and framework so that you can be in a profitable franchise. And so no matter where you are right now, for me, my story is one of always knowing that I wanted to work for myself, always knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and just feeling frustrated and stuck working for someone else, having to ask for time off and having to show up at an office every day and be on this rigid work schedule, not have the time, freedom, and flexibility. It just it was hard. So I always knew I wanted to be a business owner and an entrepreneur, but I didn't quite know how to do it. So if you're just joining us now, again in this video, we're in this live, I'm going to talk about my profitable franchise formula and really how you can find a profitable franchise that you feel like is the right franchise for you. So with that said, let's start jumping in. And I've got a few screens here, so I might be looking around a little bit as I'm going through this. But the first thing, here's the thing. Most people think, a lot of people that reach out to me online, they've already identified a franchise that they want to get into. So they have some way, either they've gone to a franchise concept, they've been a lot of times they've been a customer, or they see a franchise and they get excited about it. And they're like, ooh, I want to own that franchise. And then they get kind of going down the process and they have complete lack of clarity of what exactly they're trying to accomplish and then they get really nervous and stuck. They don't know how to do due diligence on a franchise. And a lot of times wind up making a bad decision. Here's the thing, trying to choose a franchise based off of, ooh, I really like that concept, or ooh, I'm really passionate about this, is the worst way to buy a franchise. It's the worst way to buy a franchise. So if you're doing that right now, stop it. Stop it, and you need to take a step back, because it's the absolute wrong way to make sure you're choosing a profitable franchise. When you are trying to make your transition from working for someone else and being an entrepreneur, and you're likely using like your retirement money or taking out a loan, and the likelihood is you're going to use debt to fund this business. We don't have time to mess around. We can't take chances. We need to go with the highest possible likelihood of success. And in order to do that, that goes through utilizing my framework. This framework works. How do I know it works? Because this is the formula and framework that I use for my franchise business, not knowing at that point really what I was doing. And now having talked to and interviewed a lot of successful franchise owners and been in the space and seen the mistakes that people make, I was able to come up with this. So let's get into it. Number one, skill sets. So the first part of the formula in order to get to a profitable franchise right away is your skill sets. You need to make sure that you are choosing a franchise that's in alignment with your skill sets. So as an example, if you've been in sales all of your career, well, probably not a great idea to choose a franchise that's very, very, very heavily driven in operations, right? Where it has a lot of layers of complexity. You're going to do the best in a franchise where the role of the owner is to go out there and sell and to build relationships and to influence other people. This sounds like an obvious one, but there are ways to really go through and audit your skills and what you are really, really good at, what you enjoy doing, and then what you enjoy doing and what you're good at and what comes naturally good for you. everyone has different talents. I mean, as an example, for me, I was always told from an early age that I was going to use my voice for something. My voice always projected early on. That's a nice way of saying I was loud. Everyone in my family said I was so loud. So if it feels like I'm screaming at you right now, this is just the way that I talk. By the way, it's just the way that I talk. And I always could articulate words at a pretty young age. So like YouTube, and although it's weird talking to a camera, like that's very awkward right now. I'm using my webcam, but it's very weird. But I had a natural skill set and inclination towards this. So you may have certain skill sets that you need to make sure translate over to the franchise that you're buying. You need to audit what your skill sets are. And then there are all sorts of ways that you can make sure that the franchise aligns with the skill sets that you need. And if you fall in love with the franchise concept and you realize, oh, wow, I don't have the skill sets needed. Like in order to be in this franchise, it's going to require me to get out there and network and be in the community and build relationships. And I'm an introvert and I can't stand doing that stuff. Like I'm a numbers person. Well, then either one, stay away from the franchise, like stay away from it, because you're going to be miserable if you're constantly outside of your comfort zone and that's not what you're looking for. Or you get to decide, hey, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and I'm going to step into being that person. I'm fine with that. I'm willing to do that. That's okay. You can do that. Or you hire someone or partner someone within that role. Okay. So that part's pretty simple. Number 2, profits. So we already talked about skill sets. So there are 4 pieces to this formula, 4 pieces. We talked about number 1, which was skill sets. Number 2 is profits. So profits. This is where people get really caught up, because with the franchise, it's hard to determine. It can be hard to determine like how much money are these locations actually making? So a lot of people that reach out to me wind up asking that question, like, how do I know what the franchise is actually making? And here's one of the pieces of advice that I'll give. You need to diagnose. When I say profits as a part of the formula, you need to figure out, one, what income do you need, right, to replace your income? And what is the average location performing at? Right? You want to know what the top performing locations are performing at, but you want to know what the average is. So if the average location does $50,000 or $60,000 in profit to the bottom line, and you're making $100,000 a year, well, now you know with this franchise concept, I would probably need 2. Like I might be one of the top performers, probably not going to happen from day 1. So in order for me to actually replace my income, I'll need 2. So can you even afford 2? And so that's where you start to be able to narrow it down on if that franchise concept's even going to work for you, right? Because you may need multiple locations or multiple territories in order to actually replace your income. But there are many ways to look at a franchise and figure out how much those locations are profiting on average. I talk about this in a lot of my videos. One is in the item 19, right? So in the item 19 in the FDD, you're able to look at that. But then it's like, how do you go through? How do you go through and really analyze the item 19? Because every item 19, the franchisors report it a little bit differently. And then as you're doing your franchisee validation and talking to other franchisees, how do you get it? How do you pull it out from them? How do you figure out what are they actually making? How do you connect with enough franchisees so that you can actually properly diagnose this? And this is all part of the things you have to do in order to be able to understand what the true profit potential of that business is. Here's the other thing that I'll say is just because a franchisor may say, hey, this business, these franchise concepts, they start touting numbers, you have to proceed with caution because sometimes there could be a little trickery there, or it's not what it seems. So when franchisors start showing gross profit, well, gross profit is an incredibly deceptive way to make it seem like franchise concepts are making a lot of money. Really, the only thing that matters is the net income, or EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. So that's really what you want to know. All right, so that's profits. By the way, I forgot to even say this. If you're watching this live, give this video a thumbs up. I haven't asked anyone to give this video a thumbs up. So I see there's some of you on here. If you can just give the video a like so that I know that you're watching this live. Thank you. I see that someone just went ahead and liked it. If for you other folks out there, you literally, all you do is press the button. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. You can just hit the like button. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and type below and hit the comment and say a replay, that you're watching the replay. All right, so let's move to number 3. So again, we are talking about the profitable franchise formula. And we've already talked about the first 2, which is skill sets and profits. Now let's go to demand. And again, if you're watching this, go ahead and hit that like button for me. By the way, I ran another Spartan race this weekend. So can you see that? So I ran one of the 3-mile races. I like to run Spartan races. And earlier this year, I did the 6-mile one. That was a 3-mile one, but it wasn't through like dirt and mud and all that stuff. But literally 3 weeks from now, I'm doing another one, driving up to Georgia, trying to get this trifecta. And at the end of the year, I'm doing the 12-mile one. I hate running, by the way. Can't stand running, but I'm doing it. It's a lot of fun. So I wanted to mention that real quick. All right, demand. Demand is important. In order for you to find a profitable franchise and make sure that you're setting yourself up for the highest success possible in the quickest way, you need to make sure that there's demand. There has to be demand in your area. So just because a franchise concept has been successful in one area, in one state, it doesn't mean that it's going to perform that way where you live, because different markets perform differently. Franchisors don't really like to acknowledge that. And the reality is there are franchise concepts that succeed in many different markets. But you have to diagnose what the demand is. As an example, when we opened up our first franchise, I was so adamant about our location and where we were going to be because I had done a thorough assessment on the demand. There was no competitors within a 5-mile radius. And the way that our area was, it was very fragmented. Like the communities were off exits of the highway. So you get off the highway and then you had the community, but most people would hop to the next exit on the highway. So my wife and I were going 2 exits away to get juice and smoothies. And the area we were living in was growing very fast. I looked up with the city all of the construction reports. So I looked up how many single family residences were being built, what phases of the construction process they were in. Some were only pending approval with the city, some were mid-construction, some were about to be built and already approved. I looked at what other shopping centers were coming up in the area. So I was doing an assessment on the demand. And then there was going to be a community college that was going to be built, but that could be like 5 years away. And so my ultimate assessment that I came up with was, okay, right now, kind of the demographic numbers are a little bit off. But if we're having to drive to another exit, so are other people. So there's tremendous demand. And so we were able to fill that demand, and that helped for us to get profitable very, very quickly. Guys, if you guys are just hopping on, I see some more people are hopping on. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you're watching this video live, hit the like button, please, so I know that you are watching this live. But demand was a key part. So here's another example. If we were to have opened that same franchise concept and there was already 1 or 2 competitors off of our exit, could we have succeeded? Absolutely, but it would have been a lot harder. The reality is it would be harder. Some franchisors like to say, well, we're not direct competition because we do it this way, this way, this way, this way. It's great. From a sales standpoint, the way they pitch it, I understand it. I understand that concept. But that's not how the consumer thinks about it. They still think of you guys as the same thing, even if in your mind you're like, we do it very differently than this other competitor. So going back to demand is very, very key. So when you're looking at the different franchise concepts, because you've already identified that it matches with your skill sets, you've already identified the profit potential of the business. Well, now you need to make sure that there's enough demand. All right. And just because there are competitors there doesn't mean you can't succeed. But one of the ways you can start checking the demand is to really make a list of all the competitors, right? Make a list and do a thorough assessment or analysis. This is something that I teach my clients, and getting ready to work with a small group of people and help them find the right franchise for them so that they can transition. And they're going to be hopping on calls with me live. I'm going to be walking them step by step through this process over a 6-week period. So if you want to know more about that, shoot me an email at info@tariqjohnson.com, info@tariqjohnson.com. I'll put the link in here somewhere, info@tariqjohnson.com. But demand is very key. It's very, very important. And here's the thing. You could have all the other parts of the franchise formula, skill sets, profit potential. If demand is missing, it ruins everything else. It ruins everything else, because you could have a great business if there's not enough demand or way too much competition that already has a stronghold on the market, and you don't really do anything that different than the competition. You're not innovating in any way. Whew, it's going to be a tough ride for you. It'll be a tough ride that way. I see we got some more people hopping on live. Hit that like button if you're watching live. Just give me a thumbs up, that little like button right there. And now we're going into the last one, number 4 in the franchise formula. So we talked about the profitable franchise formula, skill sets, profits, demand. Last one, number 4, ladies and gentlemen, is belief. Belief. Very, very important. So there's this conversation going out there right now about having to be passionate about a business. And a lot of the people that I talk to, a lot of you guys that I went connecting with say, well, I want to find a business that I'm passionate about. And I think that finding a business that you're passionate about is deceptive. Here's why I think it's deceptive, is because you could be in a business that you're passionate about. I remember there was a guy who was a president of a music school. He reached out, he was looking at buying a music franchise. And just because you have a passion about music doesn't mean that that is your quickest path to profitability with the franchise. Excuse me. And that it will give you what you want. You could be totally passionate about a topic, open up a business around it, and all of a sudden you are no longer passionate because you have a business that's not making money. Your passion just turned into stress and anxiety. And now you link emotionally pain to that. So passion is deceptive. You don't need passion or to be passionate about a business. If you want to be profitable, here's my advice to you. If you're in the situation where you are working a job, you no longer want to work for someone else, you want to have freedom, you want to have flexibility, you want to take back control of your life, then don't waste time trying to figure out a business that you're passionate and excited about. You got to figure out what gets you free first. What gets you free first? Once you get free and you've replaced your income, then you can start to leverage that, start another business, start another franchise, or you have more time to participate in your passions. So to clarify on number 4, belief, you just have to have a belief in your product or service and the problem that it solves. So maybe it's pest control, right? I just got off of a call yesterday with a lady that wants to open a pest control franchise. And here's the thing. Like, actually, there are a lot of mosquito franchises out there. And I live in Florida where there are a lot of mosquitoes. And I'm just that type of person that if you're around me, I've gotten bit 10 times by mosquitoes, and you're like, I haven't got bit at all. And I'm like, yeah, because they're all biting me. So as an example, I would own a mosquito franchise from that perspective, like, because I would have such a strong belief in the product or service and the solution that it provides. So in order for you to be profitable, you have to really believe in what you're doing. If you're just pursuing a franchise concept because it seems cool, or someone told you you can make a lot of money, and like you don't have a conviction and a belief about the product or the service and the problem that it's solving, then you're making life harder on yourself. What happens is when you have a strong belief about the business, about the product or the service, guess what? It's easy to now be passionate about it because you have a strong conviction on what it is that the business does. So with that said, if you are watching this live and if you're still here, please hit the like button. Helps YouTube algorithm show this video to more and more people. I am going to be launching a very special program and course and walking people through step by step. You're going to get to hop on calls with me directly, and I'm going to lead you through this process. Who is it for? This is designed for someone who right now feels frustrated. Like you are at peak frustration, fulfillment, or like, I'm done. I do not want to work in this job anymore. You're ready to make a change and you feel like there's leverage there because you want out. So you are ready to do what it takes. You want to buy a franchise. You're probably confused. You're probably overwhelmed. You don't know where to start. You don't know how to fund it. And I promise you that there is a path for you, because I've now worked with a number of clients in various different situations by resale franchises and finally make the commitment. So if you want to learn more about this and see if you are the right fit, like if we're the right fit to work together, shoot me an email at info@tariqjohnson.com, info@tariqjohnson.com, and just let me know who you are, what your situation is, and that you want to get into a profitable franchise. And it's going to be epic. This is going to be so cool. I'm super excited about it, and I'm really excited about this formula. This formula it works. It's effective. And if you use the formula, you'll be able to find a profitable franchise for yourself, because now you have a framework in which to operate. So thanks so much for watching this video. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Take care.